The other day on Twitter, I posted that I am not looking forward to the iPhone 14 being released in September of 2022, which is about, I don't know, 2 weeks from today, maybe 12, 13 days. And a lot of people agreed with me. And I thought it was ironic that I would say that, considering the name of my YouTube channel, my main YouTube channel is the iPhoneographers. And again, the responses were pretty much in agreement with me that they weren't that excited either. And so someone suggested I make a podcast about why I am not looking forward to it. And I thought, nah, I don't really want to do that. And I was working on another podcast about Steven Spielberg and him using a phone, speaking of phones, to produce a music video or to shoot a music video. And I did that. And I ended up making it a video, which is now on my iPhoneographer's YouTube channel. And so if you haven't seen that, check it out. And so after I got that going and started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, let's make a podcast about why I'm not looking forward to the iPhone 14. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey guys, Blake Calhoun, and another episode of Almost Professional, the podcast about mobile filmmaking, DIY filmmaking, indie filmmaking, really all things filmmaking. And today, iPhone filmmaking, and that's why I use an iPhone primarily. That's why I like an iPhone, and that's why I upgrade is usually for the video or the photography side. But recently, the last couple of years anyway, it's really more about the video. And that is my main reason, I think, for not really being excited about the iPhone 14. The last couple years, and this is really all phones, not just the iPhones, the changes they implement are really more incremental. And so I really want to see something bigger. Now, don't get me wrong, I've liked what they've been doing, especially in the 13 Pro. They made some pretty significant upgrades regarding ProRes and cinematic mode. And then the sensors have been getting bigger and they're getting better in low light. But again, they're kind of incremental. And so the point being is, unless the 14 really does something dramatic, like, I don't know, have a 1-inch sensor, like some of these Sony cameras or how do you say it, Xiaomi. Those cameras are really interesting. And I've actually been tempted to go and try one of those, but I don't really have access to one. The Sony Xperia or even some of the Samsung phones, but really the Sony and the, God, I'm not pronouncing it right, but Xiaomi or Xiaomi, I don't know. Sorry about that, but I've never used one of those phones. And so, but they look interesting. They look really interesting. And so unless the 14 is going to do something like that, if I currently, right now, knowing what I know, if I was a 13 Pro user, which I am, and I didn't run a YouTube channel, again, at this point, based on what I've seen so far, I don't think I would upgrade from the 13 to the 14. Now, I'm going to, because I kind of have to, because I run a channel about iPhone filmmaking. But for me, I want to see some pretty substantial upgrades and not just the redesign. The images I've seen so far is they're just redesigning or redoing the camera bump, or not the camera bump, the notch on the actual phone. So the phone stuff, which is fine. I love iPhones from a phone perspective. I'm not worried about those changes. And I know that's what most people use an iPhone for. So I'm more in the minority when it comes to why I want an iPhone. Although the camera is a big selling point. I know that. That's one of the number one things they do work on and upgrade. But what I really want to see to make it worth me wanting to buy one, even though, again, I'm buying one because I have to have the latest, greatest on my channel. That doesn't mean I won't stop using my 13 and my 12. I'll keep using those for sure. But I'm going to incorporate the 14 and do the comparisons and all that I've always done. So don't worry in that respect. I will be getting a 14 Pro. I don't know if I'll do the Max though this year. Anyway, but what I hope to see and what I would recommend to you guys who watch my channel or watch this channel and listen to my podcast is I want to see a bigger sensor again, better in low light, and especially on the telephoto. The telephoto, they added the 3x tele, which I like the new focal length, but the aperture is worse. I can't remember. It's like a 2.8, and it is so noticeable. Maybe it's a 2.4. It's so noticeable in low light. I mean, it's really almost unusable in low light again, like it used to be on older phones. The previous generation phone, the 12 Pro, the telephoto was a 2.5 times, and it was much better in low light. So I want to see bigger sensors on both the wide and the tele. And there's been a rumor about 8K, which I don't care about 8K, but it would be nice to have the ability to reframe and post. And so, but that wouldn't get me to buy it only for 8K, except for this part here. And that is, if by having an 8K sensor, the ability to shoot 8K, they could then do 4K cinematic mode in 24p, that would entice me. And of course, improving cinematic mode. Cinematic mode has gotten mixed reactions from people, and a lot of people don't use it. I do all the time, and in particular for B-roll. If you know how to use it, and you know what you're doing, and meaning, you shoot things with clean edges. You don't want to shoot things with soft edges or that's moving a lot, but static product shots or B-roll shots, that can look really good. And I use it quite a bit, and I intermingle it with or intermix it with traditional cameras all the time, and it works well. But it's only HD and it's only 30p. And the 30p part is really more of a hang up for me than the HD. I end up playing it back in slow motion or conforming it to 24p, or converting it and conforming, depending on whether I'm playing it in real time or slow-mo. So if they do that, that'll make it more enticing. And then the other thing, and I just am shocked that they haven't done this, and since they added ProRes in the 13 Pro, they've really got to add USB-C or Thunderbolt. They added Thunderbolt to their iPad Pro last year, or was that the year before? I forget. They really need to add Thunderbolt or USB-C. USB-C is probably more likely. I guess they're the same depending on what you are looking at, PC or Mac, etc. Or I guess Thunderbolt 4 is what they've been using, and that is different. I forget. There's so many different variations on cables and such these days. But regardless, USB-C is super important, not for the fast charging and all that. That's all cool. Although today I primarily charge through MagSafe, etc. For me, it'd be transferring all these large ProRes files. It's just so strange that they give us these files, this way to shoot these huge files, and then really no way to easily get it off the phone. Using AirDrop works, but it's super slow, and Lightning is even slower. And so I need USB-C, and the early indications are that's not coming. And I know there's been rumors about taking away the port completely, making it wireless, and that's fine. You do that on the lower models, but on the Pro, you need to have Pro connectors, just like they did on the later Mac Studio and stuff, where they brought back the different ports, the HDMI, and I can't remember. Professionals use that stuff. Wireless is great. It's really more consumer driven. Pros are dealing with large files. We need professional connections. And that's how they're pitching this phone. It's an iPhone Pro, Pro Max. And so give us the Pro functionality. So yeah, USB-C, a larger sensor, better in low light, and better telephoto aperture, which again goes with low light. Those are the top things that I would like to see to make it really worth the upgrade. And I'm assuming, like it has been the last couple of years, they'll change the body design just slightly enough to where none of our cages and stuff will work anymore. The Beast cage, the small rig cage, the cages I love and use all the time on my 13 Pro Max will not work, I'm assuming, with the 14. And so that always sucks, but I don't know. That's part of the game. That's been the way it's been since the iPhone 4 or 5, since I've really been doing this, but I don't like it. Nonetheless, I don't like it. And that's another reason that I actually would not upgrade if I didn't have a YouTube channel. And again, this is my preliminary reaction. If we hear the news and everything I just listed is coming or even more, again, camera-centric stuff, then I would be more inclined to do it. But I just kind of got new gear fatigue, new iPhone gear fatigue. It just seems like they come so quickly. I mean, part of it with this year, the 13 Pro Max I have, it took 6 months or more to get a lot of the accessories because of the supply chain issues. And so I feel like I just finally got this phone set up. And now the new one's coming out just a couple weeks. And so, it's like, I'd like to slow down. And again, in reality, if I didn't have this channel, just to repeat myself, I would not upgrade more than likely. The phones have gotten so good, really since the 12 Pro, because you can shoot 10-bit video. Since the 12 Pro, I would probably not upgrade, but maybe every 2 or 3 years. And really, I mean, you can still get great results with an iPhone 8, truth be told, but you get much better quality, especially from a technical perspective, starting with the 12. And so we'll see. I hope the 14 continues the path of professional quality video on a phone. Apple has stated that their intention is to make the phone have a similar quality of a mirrorless camera. And we're not there yet, but we're getting close. We're getting really close. Photography, we're getting probably closer than on video, but I think the video side will get there. Not this generation, but in the next couple generations. And as I mentioned at the beginning, some of the Android phones, Sony in particular, man, that stuff's looking pretty good. If you watch the Moment guys, Niles Gray, he has been shooting a bunch on that Sony, and they just did a video with that Xiaomi. Sorry, again, I don't know how to pronounce that. And that looks really good too. But the Sony looks the most, to my eye, right out of the camera, like a mirrorless camera, like a mirrorless image. It kind of has that Sony look, which I like. I shoot a lot on my Sony mirrorless cameras myself. So. Well, that's it. Just a short podcast today. I want to know what you think, though. Let me know in the comments if you are excited about the 14 or not, and why. Myself, I'm not excited. I'm actually kind of dreading pulling the credit card out to buy this. Another $1,000 or whatever it is, $1,200. But I do enjoy doing the comparisons and learning and seeing what the phones have to offer and how they advance. And so in that respect, it's cool. But in a practical, pragmatic point of view, nah, I'm not looking forward to it. Well, thanks for listening, guys. This has been another episode of Almost Professional, and I'm your host, Blake Calhoun, and I look forward to talking to you in the next episode.